So the new Covert Disclosures has released, and with it comes a plethora of some pretty damn good changes, from vehicle rebalancings, model updates, and even a sort of sneak peek at the upcoming event vehicle that should be dropping before the year ends. But welcome back to yet another Talking Head. Now, before I do go ahead and dive into this, please understand that this is going to be a long one. I'm going to be going into as much detail as I can while keeping things fairly simple. And a lot of this information that they are giving us is subject to change. Now, I know I usually say that for the dev servers, but in all honesty, a lot of this stuff, which they have spoken about in the past, has not come to fruition quite yet. So kind of take it with a small grain of salt. But knowing Gaijin's track record, it should be here hopefully before the year's out, because we do have 2 major updates on the way before January rolls by. So with that being said, I will spare you the details of the intro and instead jump right into the vehicle reports. Now, of course, with the release of the major update 2 weeks ago, or at least from the time that you're watching this, 2 weeks anyways, the devs, they've been pretty hard at work going through all the reports and all the feedback that we had raised as a community. And Gaijin has done some really cool changes, such as adding hearts whenever we have any sort of player reports. That is a very nice touch. But with the first significant changes coming to the J10A, now many of you guys requested that we consider the PL8B, which to my knowledge is basically a bootleg Python. I know it's kind of a mean way to go about it, but that's how it was explained to me. Although I'm sure there's way more to it than just that. We didn't give the aircraft this missile as it may be a bit too strong, given the combination of the missile's potential performance in conjunction with the platform. I didn't read that word for word, I do apologize. So the PL5E2 was a more logical and balanced starting point. It may be given further consideration depending also on how the J10A is performing in the current meta. However, they did go on to say that they aren't sure if it is going to be coming into the game any point soon, and they were pretty clear about it. But as someone who's been playing with the J10A and its very limited CAS abilities, it's been a fun dogfighter. Honestly, the thing turns almost as good as a Gripen, at least in my opinion. Although I can't say that for ARB. If you haven't experienced in this thing in ARB, please let me know, because I'm way too scared to go out there. Now, they did go on to talk more about the J10, saying that, staying on the subject of the J10, its drop tanks were also a point raised. As the current wing tank occupies a missile pylon, the developers are indeed aware of this, and they do have an alternative tank in the pipeline. So basically, if you like your external tanks, maybe my sim players out there, yeah, you guys are gonna get those pretty soon. Scrolling down just a little bit, we do have more info on the F111C. The developers are studying further reports into the GBU-15 and shoulder-mounted Sidewinder options for said aircraft. You may have spotted some of these in the early devblog renders, however, they were not quite confirmed and complete, which is why I always say, take the dev blogs and the dev servers with a huge grain of salt. And it's pretty cool that they admitted that it's nothing more but a window into the development, which is how they mentioned it right here. And the final outcome of the vehicle can always change even from that moment, which they have done plenty of. And then they went ahead and just explained how they're looking to the evidence that showed the F111C's potential with additional wing-mounted bombs. So in easier words, we're probably going to be getting more bombs for it, although I have yet to play it, so I can't really give my thoughts on it. And up next, they do talk about the show left from the Battle Pass. It's had its gun designation corrected to the M845, along with its appropriate performance accurately representing the L45 cannon. We have modeled and present on the show left V1. And I like this bit too. We know this was raised by many of you, and we would like to thank you for the reports made on this. A good friend of mine and a mod, Mina, she was livid over this. She was not too happy over the fact that the show left was just, a lot of this vehicle is wrong. It's missing a ton of things. I can't speak from experience, seeing that I've only played this thing maybe twice, and it's fun, but kind of a struggle bus for sure. So seeing this thing get buffed would kind of go a long way. Now moving on, the most recent major update, I think they meant to add, also brought in the Janus Commander sight for the VBM Freta. It was missing its thermal imager for the Commander sight when they did add this, and now it got fixed, which means you can actually use the Freta in a sort of turret down position to use the spike missiles, which effectively buffs this vehicle. And then there was a few small fixes to its top speed, smoke caliber, and the number of missiles possible to store in the hull. I don't know if that means they took away some or added more, but we'll look into it a little bit later. Whoa, hold up. I almost skipped this one. It talks more about the M735. Let's read into it. Lastly, for ground forces, we would like to touch on the subject of the M735 Shell briefly. Since we changed this round to the LO formula last year, there have been many requests to reevaluate the changes and review extra source materials to ensure its performance is correct. Now, if you aren't familiar with the shell type, it is found on the XM1, on the Type 16s, etc., and some of the lower M60s. And unfortunately, it made it horrendously bad. The M735 is still a decent round, but it is nowhere near as good as it used to be. Some may argue against that. I've found it to be a lot less performing compared to what it was previously. So seeing them talk about this and hopefully changing it goes a long way. Whilst we can't at this time specify the outcome, we can let you know that the devs will be taking a look into the shell again, and we do have some additional materials to evaluate and take into consideration. That's kind of a problem because Gaijin does have a ton of extra information, and they add it into the game as needed to balance everything out. I know that's not something a lot of you guys want to hear, but it's the honest truth. They have more info than what we're giving them, I guess, and they will only add it when needed. I don't agree with it, but it is what it is. Now, off to the next one. The F15C Baz, which I'm not going to say its whole name, was a bit of an exception to the later versions of the F15, such as the C, the JM, in that its radar differed by being an AGP-63 PSP, thus lacking TWS. Yeah, that thing was kind of a pain in the butt to play with, to be honest. After reviewing some of the reports submitted and conducting further investigations of our own, the developers have decided to provide the aircraft with the TWS updated radar. This should bring the aircraft more into line with its counterparts and drastically improve its AMRAAM handling capabilities. I was wondering why there was no TWS and the missiles were kind of wonky when I did play it, but cool, I guess. Here's a good one. The next event vehicle. We're nearing the end of the year now, and there are interesting times ahead. For now, though, the next event vehicle after the HMS Barham? I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, okay? I'm an American here, all right? It will be a ground vehicle for Germany. Keep an eye on the news for the announcements for this event vehicle. I'm really hoping it's the 284 with a 140 millimeter. I mean, come on, we got the 292 with a 152. Why not bring in the or is it 155? It's one of the two. Why not bring in a 140? That would be very interesting. Although I would well imagine it would be over BR compared to the 292. Now I'm gonna go over this next part briefly. Stats. Check this out. The highest number of ground vehicle kills at once with the PE8's FAT 5000 over the past 30 days, as well as the Lancaster. There were 11 enemy kills, not including accidental team kills, which happens way more often than you think. I mean, if you watch this video, you probably went through that at some point. But 11 kills in one go. That is outstanding. I think the most I ever had was like 6 or 7. Goes to show how much I play down there. But 11 kills was not too shabby. And then they went ahead and talked about how there's hundreds of thousands of times where 10 plus kills in ground battles over a month period. Only a few thousand get over 20 kills. I'm one of them, thankfully. It's an honor and a privilege to be one of those who have gotten over 20 kills in a high tier, top tier game. So hell yeah. And in ground as simulator battles, there were 2 times with over 20 kills. In Sim? That's insane, actually. So, good stuff. And finally, Gaijin has added new training missions for ground vehicles. The devs have created some new missions, training missions for ground vehicles, similar to how the tutorials are testing aircraft weapons, such as AAMs or AGMs. There's 5 missions here for binos, laser rangefinder SAM with IR homing head with uncaging SAM, and IR homing head without uncaging the SAM with multi-channel optical homing head. In other words, you now have a tutorial to use the damn thing. I mean, you can watch my videos if you want to learn how to use them. Just watch any of the Type 81s or the Strelas. Hell, the Strela, all you have to do is just throw the damn thing in the direction and it kills pretty much everything. So I went ahead and skipped over some of the new optics, which we already know a lot about. If you've been keeping an eye out for the custom sights, unfortunately it did make my my sights video obsolete now, although I think it's still kind of relevant. It's not exactly something you want to watch anymore, but if you know it's a lot of fun. There's plenty of tutorials out there. Go watch them from all these other brilliant creators. As for the SPAA plans for US and the Skink and Ram 2 changes, man, the Skink is such a weird name. Recently, we've seen requests for new SPAA additions to the US Ground Forces tree at the lower to mid ranks, which I agree, M42 is kind of poo-poo. Can you believe I take my M16 out to the higher tiers all the way up to around 6.7 to like 7.3 because it's so freaking good? If all goes to plan and nothing prevents us in the next major update, the devs will start to remedy the situation by adding a new domestic SPAA for the US. More information on this will be revealed closer to the next major update. So that means, as well as the addition of a Canadian skink. That's awesome. So now we kind of know what's coming in the next major update, more lower tier SPAA, to which I can highly appreciate. And then they went ahead and talked about how the M4A5 Ram 2 to go to the British tech tree. The devs will also add the Ram 2 to the British tree as a premium as well. Both trees will keep both vehicles too, meaning both nations will now simply have both vehicles, which is awesome. Cool, more stuff for Britain. Now, the next one is pretty interesting. HE fuse control. Also in the works is a new mechanic for switching HE shells operating mode. This primarily is for shells with a radio or remote fuse activation, as it allows you to disable this function and use them as standard HE shell with contact fuse. This I have been waiting for so damn long. I mean, if you take a look at the Swedish vehicles, right? When the fragmentation round first came in for it, it was a regular frag, and then they moved it, I believe, to a proxy. Then they did a timed fuse, and now they reverted it back to its original state of being just a regular fragmentation round, which means it's kind of useless. But now if we're able to manually adjust it to work, say, as proximity, which is awesome against low-flying aircraft and helicopters, etc., that's going to go a long way in balancing high tier, even more so for those heli rushers. Oh no, this next one is going to be very interesting. New visual effects. The next major update, I think they meant, will have a plethora of visual effect updates that will likely cover close to the major update. However, one exciting addition that we have wanted to point out is the LERX Vapor. LERX? LERX? I'm sorry, guys, I'm not familiar with these terms. Vapor for the jet aircraft. Take a look at some of the screenshots of this effect. Please bear in mind that this is still a work in progress and is subject to change. Take a look at these photos. These are incredibly nice, I think. I'm looking forward to it. So, Gaijin, you know, the small things in life are what matter the most, and this is nice. And that's it for when it comes to this Covert Disclosures. Dude, I like these. Gaijin, I know you watch these videos. You guys are doing very well for when it comes to being very transparent with the community. And I know a lot of you guys don't really see it like that too much. I know there's a ton of issues going on, but this is absolutely a right step in the proper direction. But if you want to go ahead and read this in detail, I will have a link to it down below in the description, because I did cycle through quite a few things as opposed to going through everything in detail. Trust me, if I went through all of this in pure detail, this would be a 20 plus, if not a 30-minute plus video just of me reading it and having my opinions. But with that being said, let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Are these some awesome updates that you guys are looking forward to? Are there more things you want to go ahead and see? You know, drop it down below and click on that link and let them know what you think. Who knows, maybe the next major update, you might see some of your changes be introduced. And Gaijin, again, has been making that very obvious when a community member has come through with those reports. And that's it. That's all I got for you guys. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this. I hope you guys enjoyed the background footage. I did rip for my stream. It was a ton of fun, and I hope to see you guys most certainly in the next one. And as always, I will see you for sure in the upper BRs and maybe even in the next major updates. Who knows? I might unhide my name. We'll see. See you next time.